In 1989, Pepsi did something no other soft drink company has ever done. It became one of the largest naval powers in the world. This wasn't an attempt by Pepsi to take over the world or replace the ocean with Pepsi Cola, but an action taken in the name of world peace. For nearly 2 decades, the USSR had been importing Pepsi, making it the first American consumer product legally sold behind the Iron Curtain. It was a strange arrangement, to be sure, but stranger still was the currency used to pay for it. The Soviets couldn't just hand over rubles. International sanctions and strict currency controls meant their money was virtually useless outside their borders. So instead, they paid in vodka, specifically stolichnaya. It was an odd but effective system. The Soviets got their cola, and Pepsi in turn sold stolichnaya in the US for a hefty profit. The balance worked, until it didn't. By the late 1980s, the Soviet economy was in free fall. Inflation soared, and vodka alone wasn't enough to cover the rising costs of the deal. But the Soviets still needed their Pepsi, so they made a new offer. This time, instead of alcohol, they would pay in military hardware. And that's how, for a brief moment, Pepsi found itself the owner of 17 submarines, a destroyer, a frigate, and a cruiser. The CEO of Pepsi at the time, Donald Kendall, even joked to a US national security advisor, "We're disarming the Soviet Union faster than you are." Pepsi, of course, had no intention of keeping the fleet. They quickly sold the entire lot for scrap to a Swedish company, finalizing what was, without question, the strangest corporate trade deal of the Cold War. And yet, for all its bizarre success, the deal didn't save Pepsi's Soviet dominance. Just 2 years later, the USSR collapsed, and suddenly, the market was wide open for American brands. Coca-Cola, which had been shut out for decades, wasted no time. Within a few short years, it had completely overtaken Pepsi in Russia, bringing an end to the company's once unshakable grip on Soviet cola consumption. So, did Pepsi win the Cold War? Not exactly. But for a brief, surreal moment, it was more than just Coca-Cola's biggest competitor. It was a naval superpower.